dead, see the dead, see the Sermon on the Mount. You want to see a miracle? Watch me get down tonight. I'm getting ready to get down. 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 Get down, yeah. Thank you very much. How are you guys doing? Are you all right? Okay, good. I'm so happy to be here with Zach. My guitar is fighting me right now. Here we are. This little guy in my speaker. Peter said to Paul, you know all those words we wrote are just the rules of the game, and the rules are the first to go. But now talking to God is Laurel begging Hardy for a gun. I got a girl in the warm and I wonder what it is we've done. Paul said to Peter, you gotta rock yourself a little harder. Pretend the dove from above is a dragon and your feet are on fire. But I got a girl in the war, Paul, the only thing I know to do is turn up the music and pray that she makes it through. Because the keys to the kingdom got locked inside the kingdom, and the angels fly around in there, we can't see them. And I got a girl in the war, Paul, I know that they can hear me yell. If they can't find a way to help her, they can go to hell. If they can't find a way to help her, they can go to hell. They sparkle, bubble over, and in the morning all you got is rain. They sparkle, bubble over, and in the morning all you got is rain. They sparkle, bubble over, and in the morning all you got is rain. much. And I'm a songwriter, so I think about stuff like this a lot. But one of the things that got me down thinking recently is, and I can get pessimistic sometimes if I want to, but like, one thing that bothers me so much that I can't believe I get a chance to say right here tonight is that there is something devious about the stealing of personal heroism from us as individuals. I feel that somehow we have been allowed to think that we're just people and a mass of people, and that we can't all be like actual heroes doing things that people may never see. Or maybe we'll do one thing in our life that does something for someone else and we are a hero. Anything. And heroes never fight to keep the world as it is. Heroes always usher in a new world. That's why we have them. That's why we should all be them. Because no one else is coming for us. So let's go for it. I carried the flame. I carried the flame. Let it always be said when they speak on my name. I carried the flame. I woke to a world full of darkness and grief. Concrete and barbed wire, no hope for relief. But a hand held my hand in the night, and though brief, it gave me the fire and it made me its thief. And I carried the flame. I carried the flame. Let it always be said when they speak on my name that my flame was so small, but from all I could see, there were billions and billions far worse off than me. And around us high walls built to keep us all free, full of statues to tell us who we once used to be. And I carried the flame. I carried the flame. Let it always be said when they speak on my name that I carried the flame. But darkness can't fall on the whole world at once. The light will survive everything that's been done. Diseases and war, deportation and guns. The light's built to thrive, not retreat on the run. I carried the flame. I carried the flame. Let it always be said when they speak on my name that I carried the flame. My flame still flickers in its light I might lose. So you'll understand if I do not salute. Wave flags or some scripture to tell what is true, so the light might survive to be passed on to you. And I carried the flame. I carried the flame. Let it always be said when they speak on my name that I carried the flame. And perhaps I will fall on my way or be caught. The flame can't be pent up or poisoned or shot. And the ones who are fed to the fire, they are not the ones who will give to the fire all they've got. And I carried the flame. I carried the flame. Let it always be said when they speak on my name. I carried the flame. Carried the flame. Carried the flame. Thank you for letting me play for you tonight, and thank you for everything you're all doing. song. They're never looking round for me. Their eyes are on the sky, the ground below. I'd rather be the one who loves than to be loved and never even know. Hello, blackbird. Hello, starling. Winter's over. Be my darling. A long time coming, but now the snow is gone. A long time coming, but now the snow is gone. You were beautiful when I first saw your feathers and confectionery airs. And the earth got up and promised you the stars, but you really didn't care. Well, I sang in exaltation, I pulled the stops, you always looked a little bold. I'm singing for the love of it. Have mercy on the man who sings to be adored. Hello, blackbird. Hello, starling. Winter's over. Be my darling. A long time coming, but now the snow is gone. I'm underneath your window now, it's long after the birds have gone to roost. And I'm not sure if I'm singing for the love of it or for the love of you. But I've gone a long way, honey, you'll hear my confession, then I'll go. I'd rather be the one who loves than to be loved and never even know. Hello, brown one. Hello, blue one. Last night's feathers exchanged for new ones. Hello, blackbird. Hello, starling. Winter's over. Be my darling. A long time coming, but now the snow is gone. A long time coming, but now the snow is gone. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Thank you for everything. See you again. Happy Labor Day.
I won't let you down. I will not give you up. Gotta have some faith in the sound. It's the one good thing that I've got. I won't let you down. So please don't give me up.
check. Mic, check, check. Please welcome to the stage Grassroots organizer Molly White.
Thank you. I will say I am not a professional speaker, so I hope this goes well. My name is Molly White. I was born and raised in Acoustic County. I now live in Augusta. I'm not a lifelong organizer. I never thought I'd be organizing rallies, attending school board meetings, or learning how to de-escalate or peacekeep. I began organizing in January of 2025 by helping plan a small event at the Capitol, and have since gone on to work with fellow organizers at Maine Resist for the last 8 months. We began with 150 people at the January event to over 4,000 at our June 14th event. What motivated me most to get out and do something was my family, specifically my niece. I feel strongly that we shouldn't be handing this world over to the next generation in worse shape than when we had it. She shouldn't have fewer rights than I did growing up. She shouldn't have to worry about crippling student loan debt, being shot in school, her friends being deported, or having to choose between paying for food or health insurance. We are experiencing the breakdown of our democratic republic as we know it, the overturn of Roe v. Wade, the occupation of American cities by the military, our brothers and sisters being taken off the streets by masked ICE agents, and the genocide occurring in Palestine, funded by our tax dollars. I cannot sit by, watch, and wait. So what can we do? You may be thinking, you're just one person, what can I do? You need to find what motivates you. There are many groups in Maine that are holding rallies, writing letters, building mutual aid networks, and protecting marginalized groups. I encourage everyone here today to find a group and get involved. Volunteer to support a candidate that will align with your values and who represents all Mainers. Our community wants and needs you. I'm going to be a Star Wars nerd, and I'm going to leave you with a quote from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Our future is uncertain. We will each be challenged. Our trust, our faith, our friendships, but we must persevere. And in time, a new hope will emerge. May the force be with you always. Thank you. Next to speak will be Brian Bryant from the IAM Union, and he is the international president.
Hello, Portland, Maine! Are we fired up? That's what I want to hear. Happy Labor Day, everybody! It's a beautiful day to stand with the people who make this country run. And I'm not talking about billionaires, and I'm not talking about the oligarchs, I'm not talking about the bosses, I'm talking about workers! Let's be clear right from the start. This is Labor Day. Labor Day is not for CEOs. Labor Day is not for billionaires. Labor Day is not for the oligarchs. Labor Day it's our day. It's for the people who wake up early, stay late, stay all night, punch a time clock. We're the ones that run America. I am Brian Bryant. I'm the international president of the 600,000 IAM members all across North America and the USA and Canada. And I'm proud as hell to come from the great state of Maine, where I started as a pipe fitter at Bath through the trades. I came up through the trades. I know what it's like to work hard for a living, but I still know what it's like to worry about paying those bills every single day, even though we have full-time employment. That needs to change not only in the state of Maine, that needs to change across this entire country. But I also know this, that when working people stand together, there is nothing, and I say nothing, that we can't take on. Because right now in this country, it is workers versus billionaires. And I've got news for the billionaires. I've got news for them. We're not scared, we're not tired, and we're just getting started. You want to talk about fighting back? Let's talk about what our IAM members did. 33,000 members struck the Boeing Company last year, and we want a better contract for those workers with higher wages, better job security and such. And guess what? We're doing it again right now in St. Louis, Missouri, and Toledo, Ohio. We've got employers out on strike because our members, those workers, are demanding more because they deserve more. Thank you. We're not just fighting for IMM union members. We're fighting for every single worker in this country who has ever been told, be quiet, take less, be grateful for scraps. And you know what we say to that? Hell no! We built this country. We built this economy. And it is time, sisters, brothers, we get our fair share. Now let's talk about the other side just for a minute, and feel free to boo. Let's talk about Donald Trump. Look, Donald Trump does not stand with workers. He stands with billionaires on Wall Street, and he's ripping up union contracts of hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and that is wrong, brothers and sisters. He's gutting Medicaid. He's making health care less affordable for all of us. He's fired hundreds of thousands of federal workers. He's putting American military on the streets of the United States and ripping families apart. Shame! He's put billionaires in charge of everything in the government, and he's throwing workers under the bus. And now he's trying to silence us all by taking away our voting rights. Shame! Make no mistake, Trump wants to make it harder for each one of us in this room to vote. Because he knows that when the working class is united and we show up at the polls, billionaires and him, he loses. But we're not going back. We're not going back. And we're not backing down. And we sure as hell aren't going to let this country continue to be run by billionaires. Because when we vote, we win. When we organize, we win. And when we strike, we change the country's history. But listen, right here in Maine, we've got a chance to make that change. Let's elect a governor who doesn't just talk about workers, he is a worker. He's a logger, he's a union brother, he's a fighter. Let's elect my friend, your friend, a great friend of the state of Maine, Troy Jackson, as the next governor of this great state. And here's an important one. Let's send that senator to Washington. Let's send a senator to Washington who isn't going to sell out, who's not going to sell out to corporations because he's never bought in. Let's elect Grant Plattner to the United States Senate. Look, just like our champion, Bernie Sanders, these are leaders who believe in workers, who believe in unions, who believe in the state of Maine. They believe in health care. They believe in raising wages. They believe in the working class deserve to lead this country, not just work for ourselves to the bare bone. So what do we do now? What do we do now? We organize. We mobilize. We build power in the streets and in the workplace and at the ballot box. And when they try to crush us, we rise up stronger. Let me hear it, Portland, right now, loud and clear. Who built this country? We did. Who keeps it running? We do. Who's going to take it back? We are. We're not asking for any more. We're demanding good jobs, strong unions, affordable housing, health care for all, and a government that works for workers, not for the billionaire class. Look, this is our moment. This is our movement. And it is our fight. Let's fight the oligarchy and let's win. Thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Portland. Solidarity forever.
Please welcome to the stage former Childcare Director from Senator Collins' hometown, Jordan Rosignol.
I'm pissed off too, but I have a preschool voice, so. My name is Jordan Rosignol. I'm a mother and a former business owner from Caribou, the same town Susan Collins calls home. I'm here to share what happens when leaders like Senator Collins turn their backs on the very communities that raised them. 10 years ago, I returned to Caribou, expecting my first child, and I opened Miss Jordan's Child Development Center. I knew our county was starved for high-quality, education-based childcare. When we opened in 2015, families were absolutely desperate. By 2018, we had expanded, and on our last day, 106 children were enrolled. Our center wasn't just a business, it was a lifeline. It gave young mothers a chance to go back to school. It allowed new families to move here and bring jobs with them. And it supported working parents across more than 70 industries. We were a safe, nurturing home away from home for the children of Aroostook County. But childcare, as you know, is an impossible business model. Parents can't afford to pay more. Educators cannot afford to earn less, and without meaningful public investment, programs like mine will never survive. I fought with everything I had, testifying at the state and national level. I ran for office myself. I drained my own savings just to make payroll. State leaders like Troy Jackson stood by me, but Susan Collins, who grew up here, whose family's hardware store sat directly across from my center, never once came to hear our concerns. Instead, she went on CNN to say that childcare is not infrastructure. Tell that to the parents who lost their jobs when we closed. Despite our impact, we were forced to shut our doors due to an unsustainable financial model and a lack of funding to cover overwhelming operating costs. When we closed, 100 children and their families were displaced, and a wave of panic followed, and it continues to just get worse. Since then, Trump-era policies supported by Collins have cut Medicaid, food programs, and early intervention services for children. Families here live paycheck to paycheck, and I still get calls every week begging me to reopen my center. But with costs soaring and funding slashed, reopening is impossible. Senator Collins shows up for photo ops when our basketball teams win gold balls right here in this building, but not when Caribou families are in crisis. That's why we need leaders who live like us and fight like us. Leaders like Troy Jackson, who has showed up for us time and time again. He even stood by my side when I told my families that we were closing. Leaders like Graham Plattner, a Marine, a working Mainer, and someone who won't just say he's concerned, he will act. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your next senator from the state of Maine, Graham Plattner.
Well, until recently, I thought that harbor master of Sullivan, Maine was going to be the extent of my political career. And now I am here. And now I find myself on a stage for an American hero, a man who has spent his life fighting for the dignity of others. A man who has had the courage to speak truth to power, to take on anyone who stands in the way of creating the country that we deserve. And I want to say thank you to Senator Bernie Sanders. So I grew up here in Maine, and piecing it together has always been a part of life. Working multiple jobs, seasonal jobs, this is not a new thing for us. But in the past few years, it's really beginning to feel like hard work is not enough. Our hard work isn't enough to keep our hospitals from closing. It is not enough for us to afford health care, to be guaranteed a living wage, to afford groceries, to afford a home, to afford dreams of a future defined not by struggle, but by joy. People my age and younger are being driven out of this state by an affordability crisis. Even those of us who have been lucky, who have succeeded and have built good lives, we see our friends and our families unable to afford the basics of what used to be called the American dream. My wife Amy and I are trying to start a family and coming face to face with the brutal economic realities of parenting today. Everyone in Maine knows in their bones that the system is screwing us. And we know it because we can see it. We watch from the sidelines of struggle as incomprehensible amounts of wealth and power are consolidated by very few. We are all looking at that and we all wonder, why cannot we all share in that success? Now, I grew up in rural Maine, and I did 4 tours in the infantry. And I am not afraid to name the enemy. And the enemy is the oligarchy. Well, that answers the next part of this speech, where I was going to ask you if you knew what that meant. Because I keep getting told that voters don't know what that word means. From the standing ovation, I assume everybody knows what it means, because we know what's happening when we're getting robbed blind. But let's be clear, we do not live in a system that is broken. We live in a system that is functioning exactly as it is intended. We live in a system that has been built by the political class to enrich and support billionaires on the backs of working people. Politicians have made a series of decisions over the last 40 years that have resulted in the world that we see today. Their choices have left many of us with very little, while very few accrue vast amounts of wealth. In 1990, there were less than 100 billionaires in the United States. Today, there are over 800. When you look around, I ask you that when you look around, do you see a community and a state that is 8 times wealthier than it was in 1990? Much of the world that we have today is the specific result of policy choices made by establishment politicians. And the shameful truth of all of this is the blame cannot simply be left at the feet of one political party. We have 2 parties that want the votes of working people, but neither has done anything lately to earn it. No one is owed allegiance. Support must be earned. And that will never happen as long as Democrats are part of the same corporate apparatus that the Republicans are. Now, Susan Collins' charade is wearing thin. This is the easiest applause lines in these speeches. No one cares that you pretend to be remorseful as you sell out to lobbyists. No one cares while you sell out to corporations, and no one cares while you sell out to a president who are all engineering the greatest redistribution of wealth from the working class to the ruling class in American history. Symbolic opposition does not reopen hospitals. Weak condemnations do not bring back Roe v. Wade. Selling out the same working class voters who've delivered mandate for change after mandate for change is not forgivable. A performative politics that enables the destruction of our way of life is disqualifying for the role of United States Senator. Maine deserves better than Susan Collins. And Maine deserves an alternative who is not at risk of being mistaken as being beholden to the same status quo that she is. I am running because it is time for change. Because I believe in a better democracy and in a better system. And I believe that a politics that is willing to sell anyone out is a politics that will eventually sell everyone out. We must stand in the way of those attacking the right of women to make choices about their own bodies. We must stand in the way of those attacking the rights of the LGBTQ community to have the same liberties and protections as everyone else. I believe that input from working people is far more important than input from someone who simply has money. I believe that we should not be settling for crumbs while billionaires eat the cookie we baked. I don't think that a CEO should have more of a voice than a union, and I don't think that private equity deserves more time with a senator than someone who works 2 jobs to get by. I do not believe these things, and I believe that the reason we are in the straits we are today is because that is what has happened. But it has happened because we let it. And the world that we live in today is not how it has to be. We can have a healthcare system that is not a mechanism of extracting wealth out of working Americans, but a guarantee for safety and health for all. Major life events like buying a home or getting a college education can be points of joy and pride, and not relegation to a lifetime of debt. Our taxpayer dollars can build schools and hospitals in America, not bombs to destroy them in Gaza. We can take back the wealth that belongs to us, that has been stolen by corrupt politicians and the corporations that bought them. We can use government to usher in a golden age for unions and workers, not double down on gig work and union busting for the benefit of Wall Street and CEOs. And we can have an economy and a government that works for the 99% and not just for the 1%. One that looks out for the most vulnerable, for children, and for the elderly, where we lift each other up, whether we are trying to start businesses or go to college or buying a home, where we empower workers to fight for fair pay and safe conditions, and where we reap the profits of our hard work. To find that path forward, we need only look down on the shoulders of the giants we stand on. The legacy of the labor movement. The legacy of the civil rights movement. And these are legacies of not asking permission and hoping those in power are going to give you what you need. These are legacies of building power. We don't have a five-day work week because we asked politely for it. We have it because our ancestors organized for it and fought for it. Regardless of what some might want you to believe, power exists for those who are willing to organize and to take it. And power is for the people. That is what I am asking you to do here today, is to come out and join in that organizing, in building real community, real organization, and real power. I am not just asking you to vote for me. I am not just asking you to donate money to me. I am asking you to show up, to come out, go to events, knock doors, do the hard work, do what is uncomfortable, and that is to connect with your neighbors and help us write a new story that leads us from this troubling chapter of our history. And when we beat back fascism, when we defend our democracy and our freedom, let our freedom be a different kind of freedom. Not merely a romantic freedom. Not freedom that's solely about defensive infringements on your rights, but a freedom that is material. A freedom to not be condemned to scraps and to struggle, but to live with the dignity and fulfillment that gives us the society that we deserve. Where instead of dreaming of a life where we can get by, we can afford a life that allows us to dream. That is the vision. This is the opportunity before us. We will win the primary. We will win the general. And we will show this whole country the way forward. Because as goes Maine, as goes the nation. Thank you very much.
Please welcome to the stage, Troy Jackson.
Hey, well, good evening, brothers and sisters, and happy Labor Day. This is definitely the type of Labor Day barbecue I want to be at. So my name is Troy Jackson. I'm a fifth-generation logger from Allagash, and it is a real honor to be here with all of you tonight. You know, I never expected to find myself here standing in front of thousands of people sharing the stage as one of my political heroes, let alone running to lead the state that I love with all of my heart. And as many of you know, I grew up in a logging community where everyone struggled. We relied on relief food. It was tough to stay warm in the winter, and we often wondered how we were going to get by. And that puts a lot of pressure on families. And after my parents split up, my father would often take me in the woods with him, and I imagine he did that to make up for what he thought was his shortcomings as a father. But for me, it was great because I got to skip school. But to be honest, I got to spend a lot of time with my dad, which I loved. But one of those times when I was 11 or 12 years old, my dad took me to a place in Allagash that we called the High Landing. And the workers there was going on strike, and they weren't even asking for more money. What they were trying to do was hold on to the current rates that they were being paid at that time. And those of you that have been to a strike and know what it's like, there were like 80 or 90 people there, and they were carrying on, they're cracking jokes, horsing around. Some of them were even throwing firecrackers. And I didn't get it at the time because I was just a kid. But they were probably trying to ease their anxiety. Anxiety that comes from when you've been down that road before, the road that hasn't gone well in the past. But you know that you don't really know what else to do. So when the wealthy landowner showed up, he got out and he said, "Go back to work for what I'm paying you, or I'll replace you all in the morning." Now, doesn't that sound familiar? Rich people making a profit from pitting working class people against each other. And pretty quickly, the feeling in the air went from jovial to desperation and anger. And I remember Leighton Kelly, who years later I actually ended up working for, becoming red in the face and yelling and screaming at this landowner. And as an 11-year-old, I'd never really seen that type of anger before. And I stood behind my dad, much like this podium, barely able to understand what was going on, but still peering out behind it because I was curious and scared. And all of a sudden, the strike ended, and that was it. And that was my first labor negotiation. Do it or go home. But it wouldn't be my last. So no surprise, when I got older, my dad didn't want me to go to work in the woods. But I did, because I was naive and headstrong. And pretty soon I found myself in the same position as my father. I couldn't negotiate for a job. I didn't have health care. And money was always tight. And when my partner, Lana, and I had kids of our own, things only got harder. And that pressure, well, it eats away at you. And I wanted to do better. I wanted to do better for my partner, for my kids. Every generation deserves to do a little bit better. But no matter how hard we worked, it seemed like, we could never get ahead. So I started chasing jobs, and I started going to logging camps that were 3 and 4 and 5 hours away from home. And you got to remember, during those times, we didn't have cell phones. So then I'd be gone all week, and I wouldn't know what was going on with my family, whether they were healthy or safe or okay. And Sundays, they were the worst. Because Sundays, I'd be home, but not really. Because all day long, I'd be anxious about having to pack up and leave at midnight. And I'd be mad. Mad at the moments I'd be missing with my kids, and mad about the time I'd be missing with my wife, and mad about not being the man that I wanted to be. And mad that I was working long hours, miles away from home, and still didn't make a difference. And one early morning, on my way down to the Golden Road, it hit me. It just hit me. What it must have been like for my father all those years ago. What it must have felt like for him to stand there as that man with all of that power over his livelihood told him to do it or go home, with his son standing behind him. No parent should ever be made to feel like that, made to feel small, take their dignity away, and powerless to speak up while their kid watches behind them. In that 5-hour drive in that old Ford pickup by myself, I started to cry. And I thought to myself, there has to be a better way for working people in this state, in this country. There's got to be a way for working people to be able to put a roof over their head and provide for their family without having their pride, their dignity, and their self-respect taken away from them. And really, that's when it all kind of started to change for me. And many of you know the rest of the story. It was in 1998 when I was 29 years old, just like that day in the woods with my dad. A greedy landowner threatened to replace us if we did not work harder for less pay while we were just scraping by. So we blocked the border to send a message and negotiate for what we deserved. And it... And it made a lot of people upset, and it made a lot of headlines, and it made a lot of politicians pretend to care for a few weeks. But most of all, it showed me what can happen when working people stand together. The power of solidarity. Look, I spent 20 years in the Maine legislature, including the last 6 as Senate President, which has been an unbelievable honor. And we did do a lot of good things together. We made school meals free, ensured no student in Maine would go hungry. When they said we couldn't, we saved the Maine veterans' homes, keeping our promise to servicemen and women. We made historic investments in housing, childcare, and education, and we passed some of the most progressive reproductive health care laws in the country, while the rest of this world is going the wrong way. Something I'm really proud of. And I have fond memories of what we were able to do as a team, pushing forward on all these things. But at the same time, there were areas where we fell woefully short, where we were told to think smaller, that was not the right time, or we were asking for too much. Where, just like that large landowner years ago, we were told by someone with more power to give up and go home. And no one knows that more than the workers standing right behind me here. So, well, now I'm 57 years old, and I've seen what happens when we don't take the big challenges on head on. And I'm tired of people not having health care or prescription drugs. I'm tired of parents having to worry about child care or whether they'll find care for their aging parents. I'm tired of folks working multiple jobs just to put a roof over their head. And I'm tired of folks worrying about whether their rights and their liberties will be protected. And it's about damn time we did something about that. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. Now is the time to take on Big Pharma and rein in corporate greed. Now is the time to give working families the break they deserve. Now is the time to make Maine's natural resources free of the pollution that there is. And now is the time to do right by the Wabanaki. I mean, all of you know how long the workers in Maine have been getting screwed. The Wabanaki tribes have been getting a raw deal for far longer than all of us, and it is time to do something for them. I'm running because it's time to put power back in the hands of the people. You heard it earlier. I'm running for people like Jordan, who poured her heart and soul into providing our community in Rustic County with childcare, but had to close her doors when she asked her government for help, and it came way too late. I'm running for governor because the American dream of putting down roots and owning a home and being able to provide for your family with a good paying job is moving way out of reach. I am running for the people who work their entire lives and still can't afford to retire because the economic system in this country is rigged against them. And I'm running for all all the workers who've been told to do or to go home, who've been told that they are replaceable and that their lives are dispensable. And look, I'm running for that little boy who stood behind his father at the Highland years ago, and all those kids who've watched their parents work so hard and still struggle, and their lives have been defined by wealth inequality and the status quo. We have to break the status quo. It's not working for us. Look, they said I was a nobody and I should go back to the woods. And they don't want somebody with grease on their hands and shit on their shoes. Someone who talks funny, didn't go to the right school, and doesn't share their pedigree. To them, that is what we are, nobodies. But we know better. We know they aren't coming to save us. They never have, and they never will. And we know that the only way to build our future, the future that we want, is to build it for ourselves. That's why this campaign is not just about sending me to the Blaine House. It's about each and every one of you coming along with me to restore our dignity and fix what's broken for too damn long. It's time to make the Blaine House what it's supposed to be, the people's house. We have tried it their way and it does not work. It's about damn time for real folks to take the wheel. Hell, we built the wheel. So I'm asking all of you for your support to stand with me for a better future for the people of the state. Now, who's with me? Who is with me? Who is with me? You want to win this for us? For us! You want to win it? Go to Jackson for Maine if you want to win this. Okay, now, thank you so much. Listen, I got the real honor and privilege of being able to introduce someone that 10, 12 years ago, whenever like my heart was in a bad place, he brought me back. Someone that showed me that it is possible to build a movement of everyday people and win. And someone that has been trying to fix what has been broken in D.C. for far, far too long. Someone that has honestly made me believe again. I mean, I would not be here today run for governor if this person didn't, put the spirit back in me. Someone that has kept that fight forever and has never given up and shown other people that you shouldn't give up. And really, it's an honor, and I am so thankful for that person that has showed the way. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my friend, Senator Bernie Sanders. Thank you, Portland. In case you haven't noticed, there are a lot of people here tonight. Let me thank Josh Ritter for the music. Molly Wright, healthcare worker, and Brian Bryant and the entire union movement here in Maine. Jordan Rosignol for our work in childcare. And let me thank your next United States Senator, Graham Plattner. And your next Governor, Troy Jackson. It is really an honor to be with you tonight and to tell you that in the last number of months, I have traveled all over this country. We have been to 15 states, and now I can say from Maine to California. And a lot of states in between. And we've talked to over 300,000 people. And what I can tell you without any fear of contradiction is the American people do not want an oligarchic form of government. They do not want an authoritarian form of government. They do not want to live under a kleptocracy where a president gets rich by being president. And they sure as hell are sick and tired of the ongoing war of the rich against the working class of this country. This is an unprecedented and, in fact, dangerous moment in American history. And we have got to respond in an unprecedented way. And the way we respond is to build the kind of strong, progressive, grassroots movement, the likes of which this country has never seen. Now, the Trump playbook is not complicated. He does what demagogues historically have always done and are doing today. He's not the only one. And what they do is, in a nation and a world in trouble, where people are hurting, where people are saying, what's going on? Why am I struggling to put food on the table? Why am I struggling to pay for rent or childcare or medical care? He says, I know the answer. And the answer is it's them. It's that group of people, that minority, politically powerless group of people. They are the cause of all of your problems. Nothing new there. This has gone on. This is what demagogues have done forever. In Europe, it was Jews, it was gypsies. In this country, it's been the blacks, the gays, you name it. Always a powerless minority, and then you blame them for all of the problems. Now, I was, sadly, at Trump's inauguration. And I sat in the front row, not any further away than where you guys are. And what I saw on that day, something I'll never forget, standing right beside Trump, right behind him, were the three wealthiest people in this country. Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg.
And then sitting behind them, like 15 other billionaires that Trump had nominated to head up major federal agencies. And honestly, what I was thinking then, I'm not a great historian, but I really was thinking about American history, and I was thinking back to Abraham Lincoln in Gettysburg. And many of you remember that a few days after that terrible, terrible battle, that enormously important battle against slavery, when so many soldiers died, Abraham Lincoln, a few days later, goes to the battlefield. And he looks around him and he said, "These men have not died in vain. And we have a vision of America that we're not going to give up on. And that vision is a government of the people." That is our vision. And when I was sitting there in the inaugural, looking at all of these billionaires, what I was thinking is their vision is very different. The Trump idea of government is a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, and we ain't going to let that happen. Now, the truth of the matter is that real politics, when you really start thinking about it, ain't complicated. It's about asking a few questions. Where are we today? How did we get here? How can we move forward? What is our vision of the future of America? Where do we want to go? And unfortunately, in the corporate media, we don't discuss these issues too much, and we surely don't do that in the halls of Congress. So let me say a few words about where we are. It's easy to talk about Russia being an oligarchic society. They are. Easy to talk about Putin being one of the richest people in the world. He is. Well, guess what? In a nation in which we have a handful of billionaires controlling our economy, controlling our media, controlling our government, we are living in an oligarchy, and that is the struggle we have got to take on. Today in America, we have more income and wealth inequality than we have ever had in the history of the United States of America. Now, you don't see this discussed on TV, and very few people in Congress talk about it. But if you can believe it, and do believe it because it's true, he got one guy, Mr. Musk, who owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. Can you believe that? One man. You got the top 1% owning more wealth than the bottom 93%. You got CEOs of large corporations now making over 350 times more than their average employees. You know, over the last 50 years, there's been huge transitions in the economy. I was mayor of Burlington, Vermont, the early 80s. And when I got into City Hall, we didn't have any computers. There were no computers then. And for the young people, there was once a time there were no cell phones. Hard to believe, but it's true. My point is that over that 50 years, there's been a huge explosion in technology. Worker productivity has greatly expanded. The average worker today is producing a lot more than he or she did 50 years ago. But you know what? despite all of that huge increase in worker productivity, the average weekly wage in inflation adjusted for dollars today is lower than it was 50 years ago. When I was a kid, it was the norm. And I grew up in a working class family. I grew up in a home where we lived in a rent-controlled apartment, thank God, or my family would not have survived. In those days, despite that, in most working class homes, one person in the family could go out and work 40 hours a week and make enough money to pay the bills. Am I right? All right. So you got all of this explosion in technology, all of this creation of new wealth. What the hell happened? Well, I will tell you what happened. There was a study done by the Rand Corporation, not exactly a socialist organization. And what they found is that during that period, there was a $75 trillion transfer of wealth from the bottom 90% to the top 1%. So you got all this technology, all this increase in worker productivity, and the end result is the people on top today have never, ever had it so good. Now that's one reality. Rich getting richer, never had it so good. But it's not just income and wealth inequality. It's not even just concentration of ownership in sector after sector in our economy. Whether it's agriculture, transportation, financial services, you got a small number of huge corporations owning those sectors, determining what price you pay for products and how workers are treated. But it's not even just that. These guys not only own the economy, they now own our corrupt political system. So as a result of this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, they said, billionaires, hey, you have the freedom to own the American political system, and the billionaires responded accordingly. They create these super PACs where they can spend as much money as they want. Democracy is not about Elon Musk spending $270 million to elect Donald Trump president. And obviously his reward was to become the most powerful person in government for 3 or 4 months until he and Trump had a lover's quarrel. But it is not just Republicans. It is also the fact that billionaires play a much too significant role in the Democratic Party as well. Let me tell you what a corrupt political system looks like. And it's not just billionaires buying elections. That's bad. It gets even worse than that. When Trump brought forth his big, beautiful bill, which is, in my view, by the way, you're all familiar with that bill, that is the most dangerous, disgusting piece of legislation ever passed in the modern history of this country. As you all know, this is a bill that gave, just think about it. At a time when the rich have never had it so good, gave $1 trillion in tax breaks to the top 1%. At a time when large corporations are enjoying record-breaking profits, they got a $900 billion tax break. But it's even more disgusting than that. Because these huge tax breaks for the rich, you know how they were paid for? They were paid for by a $1 trillion cut in Medicaid and a large cut in the Affordable Care Act. They were paid for by a massive cut in nutrition programs for hungry kids. How disgusting is it to give a tax break to a billionaire and take food out of the mouth of kids who are hungry in this country? It was paid for by massive cuts to education, which will make it harder for working class kids to get the higher education that they need. But it goes even beyond that, because what happened is the word gets out to the Republicans that if you stand up and be clear that you're going to oppose this bill, we're going to destroy you politically. There's a guy named Tom Tillis, senator from North Carolina. And Tillis made a mistake. He actually read the legislation. Big mistake. So the guy concludes, he says, I can't vote for this. It's a terrible piece. Hundreds of thousands of people in North Carolina going to lose their health care. Can't vote for it. Within hours, Trump was on social media ripping this guy apart. Billionaires were saying, we are going to primary you. You are finished. And a few hours later, the guy says, I'm out of here. Forget it. I'm not going to run. I can't win. Billionaires are against me. It's all over. Earlier, a few months before that, we had a major budget bill, which was not great, but would have been helpful to working class people. Elon Musk sends out a tweet. He says, anybody who votes for this legislation, I am going to spend unlimited amounts of money to defeat you. You know, in New England, we grow up with the belief that kind of democracy is one person, one vote, not billionaires controlling the political process. But these guys not only control the economy, not only control our political system, they own the media. Not an accident Elon Musk owns Twitter. Not an accident that Mark Zuckerberg owns Meta, which controls Facebook and Instagram. Not an accident that Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post and Twitch. Not an accident that Mr. Ellison recently bought Paramount, which will give him ownership of CBS. Not an accident that Rupert Murdoch owns Fox, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post, and right-wing publications all across this country. So what I am saying to you, brothers and sisters, we are living in a society where the people on top have unbelievable power over the economy, over the political system, over the media, and over us. And it is time that we say very loudly and clearly that millions of people fought and died to create a government that works for all, not just the 1%. And let me tell you something. Tell you a story, if I might, which I think epitomizes kind of where we are. I'm on the Veterans Committee, and I take very seriously the need to make sure that our veterans get all of the health care and the other benefits that they are entitled to. And I go around Vermont. When I go around Vermont, I often meet veterans, and I say, you know, you're entitled to this program. A lot of good VA programs out there. And as often as not, and I'm sure it's the same in Maine, people will say to me, Bernie, I know that, you know, but you know what? There are other veterans that are worse off than I am. I'm okay. I don't need the program. Make sure other people get it. That human reaction is called empathy. That human reaction says that as a human being, we can't do it alone. We are part of all. That I have got to care about your families have got to care about my family. We are in this together. But I will tell you, and I tell you with some knowledge because I deal with these guys every day. These oligarchs lack that sense of humanity, that sense of empathy. I don't mean to, I don't like to attack people in a personal way. But what I will tell you is their goal, these are very smart people, they work very hard, but they believe that they are entitled. And I say this sincerely. Way back when we studied history as kids, remember what the American Revolution was about? It was taking on the divine rights of kings. Throughout Europe, you had all these guys, God gave me all of this money and all of this power, it was God-given. These guys, trust me, believe that they have the right to rule, and democracy is an impediment to their success. They want it all. They want it all, and they don't care who they step on in order to get even more and more. You would think, look, everybody in this room, this arena, wants a good life. We all want money. We all want to live comfortably. That's kind of natural. But if you had $5 billion, you might think, hey, I did it. I got everything I'm ever going to need in my life. How many homes? Zuckerberg, I think, has 11 homes in Palo Alto, California. Bezos has 14 homes. They got jet planes. They go up to outer space on there where they get bored, and have a good day. When is enough enough? They are prepared to destroy Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the VA, in order to get more for themselves. And the reason is they are very religious people. But you know what their religion is? It's not the Sermon on the Mount. It's not do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Their religion is greed. And they worship on the altar of money. They want more and more and more, and they could care less about the implications of their greed. Love you too. So while the rich get richer, and we live in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, what's going on for ordinary people? Well, here's the reality, and you don't hear much about it. Today in America, 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, you all know what paycheck to paycheck is. Many of you are living paycheck to paycheck. I grew up in a family living paycheck to paycheck. I know what it's about. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major nation on earth. I always get a kick that many of my colleagues in the Senate, they say, we love America, love America. Well, if you love America, you love the children of America and the future of America. It's not just the kids, not just the children. We have the highest rate of senior poverty of almost any major country on earth. 22% of seniors in America today are trying to survive on $15,000 a year. I don't know how anybody, let alone a senior, survives on $15,000 $1,000. Half the seniors trying to get by on $30,000 or less. We have a system, an economic system, which for the working class of this country is broken. How many people here think that our health care system is working? Well, it ain't. It is a broken, cruel, and dysfunctional system. The function of the current healthcare system is not to do what virtually every other major country does, and that is to provide health care to all as a human right. The function of this system is to make as much money for the drug companies and the insurance companies as it can. So you got a health care system which is broken. You got, in terms of our young people, a childcare system. I don't know how it's doing here in Portland, but in Vermont, many places of the country, incredibly expensive, while childcare workers are paid totally inadequate wages. We have an education system right now in which Trump and his friends basically want to destroy public education in America. We have teachers in rural areas in my state, and I expect in your state, starting off at $35,000, $40,000 a year. We got millions of young people can't afford to go to college because they don't want to leave school $50,000 or $100,000 in debt. You want to go to medical school, you're a working class kid, you want to go to medical school, you know what you're going to leave school in debt with? $500,000. So you got an economy that's working for the rich, you got a healthcare system that is broken, you got an education system that is broken, and you got a housing system that is totally broken. You know, I did some calculations. I'm not 100% sure of this. But it's, again, I said my family had no money, but we lived in a rent-controlled apartment. And I figured it out, given my dad's salary, we ended up paying about 18% of our income in housing, 18%. Does anybody here know anybody that's paying 18% today? The truth is that we got 20 million households that are paying 50% or more for housing. So if you're paying 50% for housing of your income, what the hell do you have left to spend on? You have nothing, right? So you got a housing system broken, educational system being really attacked right now, healthcare system broken. And everybody knows the importance of good quality food to stay healthy, right? Anyone go to the grocery store lately or try to buy decent quality food and see the price of that? So bottom line is, in the richest country in the history of the world, people on top never had it so good. And yet for the basic necessities of life, healthcare, education, food, housing, working families are struggling. Brothers and sisters, we need to do two things at this difficult moment in American history. Number one is we got to take on Trump every day of the week in every way we can. And it's not just taking them on economic issues. We got to end the absurd foreign policy that we have right now, which is spending billions of dollars to starve children in Gaza. one of the reasons that I want Graham Plattner in the Senate with me, as he will stand with me. No more money for the Israeli war machine that is destroying the people of Palestine. But in order to be successful politically, it's not good enough to simply take on Trump and the oligarchs every day. What we need to do, which the Democratic Party, the leadership, does not do, is have a vision of where we want this country to be. And let me just remind all of you that the truth of the matter is that in the richest country on earth, and at a time, and I got a lot of concerns about AI and robotics. I don't know that we can get into it tonight, but that's a whole other issue. But we have the potential to become even richer. And from a world historical point of view, throughout the history of the world, and today, people are struggling, and there are countries in the world where people are trying to survive on $1 a day. Kids are dying from easily preventable diseases. Throughout history, human beings have struggled just to stay alive. For the first time in world history, human history, we now have the opportunity with sane democratic policies to create a decent life for every man, woman, and child in this country. That is not a radical idea. So what I am begging of you, is don't think small, think big. Healthcare is a human right. Every man, woman, and child. We need Medicare for all. And I want young people to become doctors and nurses and healthcare professionals without going deeply into debt, because we desperately need you. Now you tell me in this great and inventive country where we have so many brilliant minds, you tell me why we are not having the best educational system in the world. We used to be the best educated country on earth. That's no longer the case. I want every young person to know, from 3 years of age on, that he or she does their work well. They will be able to get all of the education they need, regardless of the income of their family. Education is a human right. We need to attract the best and the brightest into education and pay them the kind of salaries that their work demands. Which is why I've introduced legislation that no teacher in America should make a starting salary of less than $60,000 a year. We can do it. You can have the best child care system in the world, best higher education system in the world. And maybe, just maybe, instead of spending $1 trillion on the Pentagon, a government agency which cannot even complete an independent audit, massive waste and fraud, maybe instead of spending $1 trillion on the Pentagon, we spend a few $100 billion building low-income and affordable housing in America. Maybe instead of giving tax breaks to the fossil fuel industry, we start investing in the cheapest form of new electricity, solar and wind, to create millions of jobs to save the planet. And maybe here on Labor Day, we make it clear that at a time when millions of workers understand the importance of unions and want to join unions, we're going to pass legislation to prohibit corporations from firing workers who want to join a union. We're going to pass the PRO Act. We're going to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, $17 an hour. We're going to end the absurdity of being one of very few countries in the world that does not guarantee paid family and medical leave. Now, at a time when so many seniors are struggling, when half of older workers have nothing in the bank as they face retirement, you got Republicans out there talking about their desire to cut Social Security. Well, we're not going to cut Social Security. We're going to expand Social Security benefits. And we're going to do that by lifting the cap on taxable income so the wealthy start paying their fair share of taxes. Absolutely. Let me give you, very often I get criticized, like every day. And people say, oh, Bernie is a radical, he's out of the mainstream and all that stuff. I want you to understand, please understand that everything we are talking about are supported by a majority of the American people. These are not radical ideas. Brothers and sisters, we got to be thinking outside the box. In this state, we got to elect Graham, and we got to elect Troy and other good people. But they can't do it alone. They really can't. And we have got to, at this moment, not just for ourselves, but for our kids and future generations and the very well-being of the planet, we got to be thinking in new ways, and that means being involved in whatever way we are comfortable in being involved. I will tell you this, what the ruling class does through their media and their culture is they basically try to say that ordinary people are powerless. What they're saying is they have all the money, they have all of the power, you got nothing. And they can do anything they want, and you can't stop them. Well, I think we've got some news for them. Not only can we stop them, not only will we stop them, but for the future of this country and, in fact, the world, we must stop them. Today on Labor Day, when we thank the unions for all they have done for the working class of this country, understand and remember what a union is. A union is the understanding that one person cannot do it alone, that we all have got to come together to fight with and for each other. And what the union movement is about is solidarity forever. Thank you all.